Now, companies like the one we're at, India Games, and startups alike all have one common problem. How much do they really know about people that they're hiring? How much can you really trust someone who comes in for an interview? AuthBridge was one such company that wasn't entirely convinced. The result? Somewhere you can go for a complete background check before you actually go about hiring somebody new. Nikhilesh Sinha finds out more.
Turns out there's some strange goings on in Startup Town. Detective work being done by BPOs. You know me, I'm a sucker for a startup story. So I decided to go down, see what I could dig out. Here's what I found.
A girl assumes the identity of her dead sister to get a job. An employee steals his ex-boss's documents for a job interview. An executive from a Fortune 500 company disappears into thin air. And it is discovered he may have had underworld links in the Middle East. These are all true events. How much do you really know about the people you have hired? 20 to 25% of job seekers lie on their resumes. AuthBridge sells itself as the last bridge your potential hires have to cross before coming on board. They are India's first pre-employment background screening service provider. This idea came to Ajay Trehan during his first entrepreneurial stint as head of Core BPO, a business process engineering consultancy and outsourcing organization. They had clients asking the employees assigned to their projects be background screened.
A lot of people in the HR community whom I knew very well, so I did a dip check with close to about 50-60 people at that time to look at what are they doing for background screening of employees, and realized that a vast majority of them were either not doing it. So typically about 5 to 10% of the organizations I touched base with were only doing background screening. Everybody had a need.
The need was greatest for multinationals and BPOs working for foreign companies, but there is a growing demand for AuthBridge's services. The recent terror attacks have encouraged the hospitality industry to sit up and take notice. And with a growing market, Ajay was not too concerned with competition.
Total available market for the business that we are in is so huge that us and First Advantage and a few other companies put together today also don't add up to more than 10% of that total available market.
The market for talent, however, was going to be a little bit trickier. But what would prove more difficult was to train young professionals to carry out background screening, a process in which Ajay himself was no expert. Background screening is traditionally a high-skilled profession carried out by a few experts, which is a model that is very hard to scale. So Ajay went out to test the market.
It's very important to therefore build processes which can scale up on their own and at some point in time become very easily replicable. So we looked at each of the sub processes of our business and tried to either automate them or break them into sub processes which could then be driven by very simple people with basic trainings on specific areas rather than one person being trained on the entire gamut.
The screening process was thus converted into a series of step-by-step tasks, which allows AuthBridge to function much like a BPO. The Education Screening Department, for instance, checks the authenticity of degree certificates provided by employees, while the Employment Department interviews previous employers to verify details of employment and uncover any discrepancies. AuthBridge processes 10,000 verifications every month and charges an average of 0.5% of the annual cost of an employee to the client. The company started with 5 people working out of a small flat in Gurgaon, with Ajay and his team personally involved with every step of the verification process. The initial money for the venture was pooled in by friends who believed in Ajay and the potential of the idea. Their faith was rewarded 7 months later when the company broke even.
Over the year after that, we acquired close to another 100 clients. So it was a pretty bootstrapped sales team running around all over the country. We picked up another 100 clients. We've grown almost on an average, cumulative average of about 100 to 200% year on year after that.
AuthBridge is now diversifying its services by entering into the areas of corporate fraud prevention and investigation. Our JES team is experts who have worked in the areas of law enforcement, specialized in interrogation and investigation of corporate crimes. There is also a demand for training of personnel in dealing with detection and prevention of fraud, so that companies can start dealing with these issues internally. AuthBridge is looking to bridge that gap.
With clients in almost every industry, AuthBridge has now even set up a training academy to educate corporates on how to go about establishing a corporate risk management structure.